Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So let's have a look back at the racing last week at Aintree, including the Grand National, talking about horses that caught my eye. And we'll start off with the Grand National. Now, there's a article on the Racing Post, I think today, saying, is the Grand National just another cross-country race? Yeah, maybe. But for better class horses, and I think the cross country race had started to attract better class of horses. And interestingly, if the race had gone ahead at the Cheltenham Festival, second, third, and fourth would have probably all run in that race. Delta Work, Manella Indo, and Galvin, and probably finished as close as they did to each other. Well, there was like nothing between them at the line. The three of them, they were beaten by I Am Maximus, Kitty's Light back in fifth. Now, I think the thing to note here, the front four are all Grade 1 winners over fences. Go back 10, 15, or just 10 years, that wouldn't have happened. They would have been too high in the handicap. And they were quite high in the handicap. I mean, the fourth horse there, Galvin, was number 13. So he was relatively high in the handicap as it was. I'm just going to check what handicap mark he carried or what weight he carried. You know, the trends of you need to be relatively low in the handicap. Nah, not anymore. Galvin carried 11 stone 2, and even that suggests, he was a former Grade 1 winner carrying just 11 stone 2. In terms of, normally you would get one that was right at the top, or previously you would get one that was right near the top. I think Corach Rambler would have got involved, previous third in a Grade 1 in the Gold Cup. You need that graded form. For me, Kitty's Light has run an absolute stormer and has achieved the best possible position that Kitty's Light could probably do. I don't think there's any way that Kitty's Light could have improved that position. I thought Jack gave him a great ride. I thought everything went perfect. He just wasn't good enough, as in his quality. He's not a Grade 1 horse. He's not going to be winning Grade 1s in the future. And for me, Kitty's Light needs to be now aimed at every other handicap you can possibly think of. The Scottish National, Bet365 Gold Cup. You could possibly look at a Hennessy, but that's not far enough. All of those races, the Midlands National, maybe a Welsh National, although I know they don't think the horse goes on soft ground. Kitty's Light and anything similar sort of ilk to Kitty's Light, handicappers. The likes of Bala Briggs, I don't think would have won a Grand National now. Amberley House definitely wouldn't. Any second now probably could have. He would have been a graded horse. You're going to need graded horses going forward in the National. And, there's still going to be a kind of a handicap. It's going to be a Grade 1 handicap, essentially. You're going to get graded horses running in this that are Grade 1, but then they're still being able to carry a handicap mark. It's going to be a top quality handicap in terms of the actual quality of the horses as well. But anything that maybe looked like they were just very good handicappers aren't going to be good enough going forward. And next year, the JP McManus could be absolutely... I think JP McManus could potentially get a Grand National 1, 2, 3 next year. If he ran... I Am Maximus, who would obviously carry top weight, but would only actually be carrying £6 more weight. I'm just having a look. Do they carry 11-12 here? I think they do, don't they? Yeah, 11-12. So we'd only actually be carrying £6 more official weight. Now, you'll then have the likes of, I think, Corbett's Cross could run in it. He looks like he needs this trip. He's, finished third in the Grade 1. He's also won the Grade 2 3-mile 6 race. They're the type of races that Corbett's Cross is going to be aimed at. He's going to be aimed at all the graded races. He would have won an Albert Bartlett if he'd stood up. Obviously, Manella Indo had previously won that. Delta Work had previously won a Grade 1. I Know the Way You're Thinking could be aimed at something like the Grand National. Another Grade 1 winner that could step up. We could also see Factor File. No, probably not. He won't go for that. Meeting of the Waters potentially could be a graded horse. I'd need to see him win a graded race beforehand. He was only 7th, so 7. So keep an eye out for him next season in graded race. If he wins one, or runs very well in one of those, then I would put him into the category of being potential Grand National type. And obviously Limerick Lace. Now, I know Limerick Lace actually finished 10th of those and 3rd of the JP runners. Does have, obviously, a Grade 2 win to her name when winning the Paddy Power Mares chase at Cheltenham. Also, everything went wrong for her. So you could probably suggest that she was better than that, and maybe if she'd had a proper run through, didn't make any mistakes, didn't get hampered, I could have seen her finishing in the front 5 and probably beating Kitty's Light and showing that you needed to be graded class to win this. So, yeah, JP could turn up with Iron Maximus, Limerick Lace, Meeting of the Waters, I Know the Way You're Thinking, and Corbett's Cross. I think he could get the 1, 2, 3 there. With those, I would probably suggest that maybe Corbett's Cross, Iron Maximus, and I Know the Way You're Thinking would be my preferred 3. Then it would be Limerick Lace and then Meeting of the Waters. But if you send 5 with massive chances, you've got a great chance of winning that. I think they'd probably all go off sub 12 to 1, all 5 of those, if they all ran. We were a little bit unlucky in this race in that we picked the wrong Grade 1 horse. In Delta Work, we had the best handicapper in Kitty's Light, ran a great race for 5th, traded at 2.68, what's that, 13 to 8 in the run. Delta Work finished 2nd, and our other 2 didn't complete the race. In Corrit Rambley came down at the 1st, and the other one was he unseated. There he is, Marla Mission, unseated at the chair. So, yeah, going forward, I think I'll be aiming for graded horses in the Grand National. Not previously, that used to be a real worry. You would instantly put it down and go, I don't want that because probably going to be carrying too much weight. Don't think that'll be the case going forward. So, anything from that race yet? Yeah, you would say Limerick Lace was unlucky. Iron Maximus is clearly a very, very good horse, graded class. The others are all graded class. Kitty's Light should be aimed at everything apart from the Grand National. No need to save him or try and get him back next year. Just go and win as many handicaps as you can. En route to, I don't know, just keep running him in the graded handicaps. Go for everyone next season. The Ida Chase, the Midlands National, the Scottish National, the Bet365, any long distance handicap you run Kitty's Light in. So let's actually go through some of the other races. Starting on the Thursday, Il Était Temps stepped up in trip and won very comfortably, probably showing that Arkle form was very good. Obviously Founder 50 did also win. Gaelic Warrior might just be very, very good. And the Irish, again, they found that their 2-milers are better than the British 2.5-milers. Moving on to the 220, Sir Gino beating Cargess, or Cargeezy. For me, I think Sir Gino could be very, very good. I don't think he had the ground right. I still don't think the ground was right for Sir Gino, and yet he was still able to beat Cargess, and they were well clear of Caliph de Burley, Intelletto and Dirty Den. I think, does Sir Gino go over fences next year? The fact that Nicky's still got in the back of his mind, he's still got Constitution Hill. There's no need to keep Sir Gino over hurdles. I think he'll go over fences. I think there's a few others that could be interesting over fences. Firefox being one of those for Gordon Elliott. So it won't be completely easy for Sir Gino. Cargess, once she learns to settle, she will be even better. She still ran a really good race, and 2nd at Cheltenham, 2nd at Aintree, and winning at the Dublin Racing Festival. Cargess is very good. So the fact that Sir Gino was able to beat her, and I don't think the ground was right, I do think Sir Gino is very, very good. 255, Jerry Colombe. So he's another one that you could potentially see in a Gold Cup. You could actually see the front 3 there, or in the Gold Cup, in the Grand National. I think all 3 of those could be interesting in the Grand National. Ahoy Senor clearly loves Aintree. His jumping would be the issue. Jerry Colombe doesn't look quick enough for 3-mile races, and yet he's able to win a few of these. He's not going to win a Gold Cup against Galopin Des Champs, but you might as well run him. Corbett's Cross has run an absolute screamer, considering he's a novice, to finish 3rd behind Jerry Colombe and Ahoy Senor. It'd be interesting to see what the handicapper does do with those when we find out their new marks. Shishkin, he's not good enough for 3-mile races at the top level. Gentleman's Game really isn't. Brave Man's Game has completely lost all form this season. Thunder Rock, really disappointing. I mean, he's won that silly race at Kelso, the Premier Chase, and ruined his handicap mark. I think that was one of the worst bits of placing this season, was by Ollie Murphy with Thunder Rock. I don't think the McNeils have a great record with placing their horses in the right race, to be honest. So, yeah, Jerry Colombe, I'd love to see all of these running in a Grand National next year. You could have Iron Maximus, Corbett's Cross, Ahoy Sinor, Jerry Colombe. I know the way you're thinking. Limerick Lace. What else could you put in there? Minella Indo, Delta Work, put them in there as well. What a Grand National in terms of quality that would be. And yeah, I mean, if they all were in it, obviously, you know, the general handicappers definitely have absolutely no chance. Moving on to the 3:30, Bob Ollinger finished second for us here. I don't understand how how the stewards did not reverse that. Really, really surprised, to be honest. Very frustrating for us. Imperio Pass, you know, travelled really well. I don't think he quite got the 2.5. He'll be better over 2. Langadan has demonstrated that his handicap mark was ridiculous. Both years he's won the Coral Cup. Gonna be very hard to place going forward, though. Very, very hard to place going forward. Because, well, I suppose he can go and win the 2.5 mile graded races in the UK and hope Willie and Gordon Elliott and that stay away. 4:05, It's on the Line. Again, this was a great raid from Derek O'Connor. It's on the Line didn't help him at all. And yet he still won. Again, JP can dominate these Hunter Chase races because the horse is only 7. I think he should have won the Hunter Chase at the Cheltenham Festival. He can go and win that next year and turn back up here and win this. So there's a couple of easy winners there for JP if he wants. JP then finished second in the Close Brothers, beaten by Sons Brewitt, who was clearly, I think he'd been laid out for this race, hadn't he? His form wasn't good enough to win this, and yet he got really well supported. They changed tactics. They went from the front. Maybe that's what they'd been waiting for. Went from the front, and he won. We were unlucky again with Saint Noir finishing second. I think he only needs a couple of pound off again, and he's going to be challenging potentially for this race or for the Grand Annual next year. Don't give up on Saint Noir. He can certainly win one of these. He just needs to not bump into a very well handicapped horse. Anything behind? Not really. I know the way you're thinking. On the Friday, beat Iroko, Hartwood, Chianti Classico, demonstrating that the Kim Muir placement, they'd clearly worked on that to get him into that Kim Muir, and then he was significantly better than Iroko and Chianti Classico. Yeah, he's the one that I'd like to see stepping up next year for the Grand National. You can go and win graded races. It'll be tough in Ireland to win graded races because over this trip, you're going to face the likes of Corbett's Cross, Jerry Colombe, Galopin de Champs, Fast or Slow, etc. He might be one that they keep sending across to England because the British Grade 1 horses over 3 mile are not as good as those the Irish. So we might see more trainers splitting their horses, potentially coming over and trying to win more races in England against the British horses that clearly aren't as good. 2:20, Katira wasn't laid out for this race, but just had some really good form here and did win the race. Delighted with that. Django Bai was definitely interesting, and to be fair, he'd done nothing wrong all season. Django Bai was unlucky. Katira might have found more if Django Bai had got there earlier. It's only those two going forward. Castle de Motte is one that I do still want to give a shout to. Drop him back in trip. When he goes back over 2 mile, he might well be back in that Betfair hurdle next year. If he learns to settle, he is still nicely handicapped. 2:55, Mystical Power beating Firefox. We were right, we did get Firefox closer. There wasn't a lot between them. But Mystical Power was still the better horse on the day. Mystical Power should stay over hurdles. JP has one there that they can keep over hurdles, whereas Firefox will go over fences, and I think Firefox will be very good over fences. I think he and Sergino probably look two very smart horses over fences, or will be smart horses over fences. John Bond beat Conflated and Protectorat. I'm not totally sure the trip suited. He'll definitely be better over 2, but as soon as he takes on the likes of El Fabiolo, he will struggle. It'd be interesting to see if Willie Mullins sends El Fabiolo for that Celebration Chase now that he's trying to win the Jockeys Trainers title in the UK as well, or in Britain as well. El Fabiolo versus John Bond, we might get it at Sandown rather than at Cheltenham. The Topham, won by Arizona Cardinal, battled back to beat James de Burley, who did the same as he did at Cheltenham, came there travelling well, didn't quite get home. There will be a race, just keep sending James de Burley over. You will find a 2.5 mile handicap, potentially those ones in the October, November, December, January at Cheltenham. He'll pick up one of those if he runs in those. Of those behind, so we was on Ferro Bamboo, who ran absolutely no sort of race. We actually had Ferro Bamboo and Bill Baxter, who unseated early as well. Ferro Bamboo didn't run a good race at all. Venetia Williams' horses were very poor that day, or very poor over the last few days. You'd probably say maybe he comes back for the race in November. Is it the Beecher that he could come back for? Or the Sefton, sorry. Come back for the Sefton. He'll drop in the handicap for this run. He'll be nicely handicapped, and Venetia Williams' horses probably be in better form when they come back. So Ferro Bamboo is actually one you don't want to give up on because he just ran no sort of race, but the handicapper will drop him for that. And James de Burley, look at those races at Cheltenham in October, November, December and January. Dancing City beat the Jukebox Man, beat Sherry Dam with Pinot Rouge in 4th. For me, nothing in that. I wouldn't be interested in any of those going forward. El Jefe beating Affadil and Godante. So I thought we were going to win it with Affadil. Travelled beautifully. Look at the price he went. 1.41 in the run. Travelled really well. Looked like he was going to win it. I think he ended up on the wrong part of the track after the last. Him and Lively Citizen both struggled down this near side, whereas El Jefe, Barley and Godante ran better over that far side. Obviously, we have to remember as well, Godante lost 20 lengths at the start. Huge effort from Godante. I'd probably suggest that Godante and Affadil are the two to take out the race. In that, I think they're going to... Affadil can certainly win a race. As long as the handicapper leaves him alone, he can win off that mark. Just didn't work at Aintree. Whereas Godante, if he hadn't lost 20 lengths at the start, you'd have to think he would have gone very close. Nothing really else in behind. The handicap hurdle over 3 mile. Again, we was frustrating here. We had a second with Lord Snooty. It went off 18-1 Lord Snooty, and we had third with West Balboa, beaten by Gwenny May Boy. Now, it's only the fact that Harry hadn't ridden Gwenny May Boy, he'll be on it next time, won't he? Clearly very well handicapped on the day. I imagine West Balboa might be aimed at returning to this race next season. You know what Dan Skelton's like. Johnny Who, there's a handicap over 2.5 at Sandown that I think Johnny Who could be aimed at. Krebilly won it last year. That's where I'd like to see Johnny Who also ran a really good race. Nothing else really to take from that race. Lord Snooty, when it comes on soft or heavy going though, I think he could be very interesting. Next time, didn't get the ground that he would have wanted. Brighter Days Ahead, clearly very, very good. She will be very nice over fences. Staffordshire Not, I'd already got it down for a handicap. I hope he hasn't ruined his handicap mark by finishing second in that Grade 1. I'm going to say one here, and I'm sticking to it. The King of Ryhope. Look, he went off 4-1. He traded at 5-4, which was mental considering I counted 8 mistakes from him. Out of 18 fences, he made 8 mistakes. He's going to be better next season. Keep an eye out where Dan enters him. He's going to find him a big handicap somewhere. If he'd jumped better, I think it would have gone really, really close. Considering he still traded 5-4 in the run when he started to make ground, and then he reached for the second last, I think it was, and yeah, way overreached for it. Probably hurt himself, and ended up fading back to 8th. He will win a race. Don't give up on the King of Ryhope. 305, won by strong leader. That's a poor grade 1. Flooring Porter was very disappointing. I hope to see Champ and Dash or Drasher retired. Crambo isn't good enough. Yeah, I wouldn't be that interested in any of those in big races. Proper grade 1s. And finally, Founder 50 out-battled Master Chewy after the last. It was a good run from Master Chewy for sure. Founder 50, I don't think he quite ran to his full potential. Still managed to win the race. He will be good over fences as well if they do decide to send Founder 50 over fences. The problem is they've got Founder 50 and Firefox. Founder 50 is already running over fences. He will be able to step up into open company next season. Whereas I think Master Chewy might need to find a handicap to get a win for him. So there were some thoughts for the racing. The takeaways, I think you're going to need graded horses to win a Grand National. Definitely don't give up on Cars Yes. Sagino will be good over fences. Corbett's Cross could be one of those all three of those could be go to the Grand National next year. Langadang can win the Grade 1s in England. It's on the Line could dominate in the Hunter Chasers. Saint Wild will find a handicap as soon as he drops a couple more pound. I Know the Way You're Thinking could go up to the Grand National. Django Bai and Katira, both interesting going forward. A Castle de Mott just needs dropping back in trip. Firefox, when he goes over fences, will be good. Nothing really from that. James de Burley for those 2.5 at Cheltenham. And Ferro Bombu maybe come back for the Sefton. Nothing from that. Affadil, Go Dante, I think are the two to take out the conditional jockeys race. West Balboa might be targeted at returning for the William Hill handicap. Lord Snooty when it's a bit softer ground. Brighter Days Ahead will be good over fences. Don't give up on the King of Rye Hope. They might find a race for him before the end of the season. That was a disappointing grade 1 for me. And finally, Founder 50, I think, can step into open company and not just stay in the novices next year. Obviously, can't run in the novices next year. Whereas I think Master Chewy might need to find a handicap.